Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your very first time tuning in, welcome to my channel. You are now watching part 2 of my Being an Introvert College Edition video. So if you haven't watched part 1 yet, I would advise you to stop this video, head back to my videos list and watch part 1. It'll make a little more sense if you do. Yeah, so you guys know the drill. If you like this video, please hit that like button, do subscribe, share this video, and don't forget to hit that notification bell just so that you are alerted every time I post a video. Also, don't forget to comment. Yeah, I would appreciate that. I really want to hear from you guys. So yeah, let's get into it. So in part 1 of my video, or at least this video, I discussed some of the misconceptions that you hear about, or at least that I heard about introverts that I have encountered, and I will discuss majority of those misconceptions in this video. I will also be addressing some or stating some positive attributes about introverts, just so you guys know that you can apply those to your daily life and you can use them for the betterment of your community. Use them to your advantage as well. Yeah. Okay, so misconception number 1. All introverts are shy. That is not true. Not all introverts are shy. Shyness and introversion are two different things. If anything, many introverts are natural public speakers. A more accurate statement would be most introverts, if not all, are reserved. That means that they prefer not to speak or talk just for the sake of talking. So yeah, they would keep to themselves, most likely because they are observing their environment or giving themselves time to settle within a certain community. Otherwise, they are just reserved, but not shy. Not all introverts are shy. Two different things, yeah? Misconception number 2. Introverts do not like working in groups. Again, that is not true. It is, however, true that many introverts, if not all, work best on their own, but that does not mean that they're not team players. Once again, talking about group size. So it is very likely that introverts would prefer to work in a smaller group setting than a larger group setting. That's because you find that many introverts tend to isolate themselves in large group settings because it's just harder to assimilate into that kind of environment. It takes a little more time. So they prefer smaller group arrangements because it's easier to have a one-on-one interaction with people in a smaller group setting. I personally prefer smaller group settings. Also, it's easier to hear or listen to the opinions of everybody in the group, as well as have your own opinion shared with everybody and even listened to, and it be valued compared to a larger group setting. It's much harder. So yeah, it's not that introverts are not team players or that they don't like working in groups. No, it is true that most introverts are the most creative when they're on their own, but yeah, that is not true. Misconception number 3. Introverts just want to be left alone. Guys, that is also not true. Yes, we do enjoy spending time on our own to recharge, and just because it just feels good, honestly. It does, but that doesn't mean introverts do not crave human interaction. God created us all as social beings. I strongly believe that. That is just how we're created. It's just that we interact differently. I will use introverts and extroverts, which is what society treats as two different extremes. So it appears that extroverts are or love to interact a lot more, are more sociable. But the thing is, we both love, introverts and extroverts love to interact with people. We just interact differently. And so yeah, it's not really that introverts just want to be left alone. I saw a number of memes going around on social media, especially when quarantine first began. And people are saying, I'm sure introverts are having the time of their lives, introverts are thriving. And honestly, I cannot compare what the quarantine experience was like for introverts or extroverts. I really can't compare them. We're all different, and even though I may be an introvert, somebody else an extrovert, or another introvert, our experiences are the same. So the way we respond to things is still going to be different. We will not respond the same way. But I will be honest with you, quarantine for me was really hard. Yes, I do like spending time on my own, but I also miss interacting with my friends. For one, I'm here, I couldn't be with my family. I don't have family here. So it was really, really hard. I miss seeing my friends. If anything, we weren't allowed to even visit one another. So for the most part, I would be on my own, faced with issues that I hadn't confronted before. But that's a topic for another day. But yeah, I missed interacting with my friends. I missed all that. And so it's not that, we just want to be alone all the time. There are times when we do want to interact with people. That doesn't take away from the fact that we are social. We just interact differently. So yeah, the fourth one, introverts overanalyze everything. So one thing I will mention, most introverts are deep thinkers. So introverts like to analyze situations and consider all possible scenarios before making decisions. That's true. This allows them to make tough decisions with a rational stream of thought. So yeah, that is very true about introverts. Most of us are deep thinkers. We like to analyze situations in order to make the best decision possible and not just be impulsive. I'm quite impulsive, honestly. So it's not that we will all look at life the same way. We do things differently based on our experiences. But it is true. I can be a bit impulsive personally, but I also like to think through my decisions to see whether or not, I will be getting the best outcome out of something and not having to deal with terrible consequences for my decisions. My two best friends tell me that I am suspicious in the sense that I am more I like to, analyze things a lot. I do. And I'm skeptical about certain things. And maybe even people, it's just harder for me to, just analyzing all possible scenarios. But yeah, sometimes I can be a bit of both. But it is true, however, that generally introverts tend to be deep thinkers. And one thing that I do not like hearing, honestly, is that, oh yeah, you just like overthinking. Look, there's a difference between being a deep thinker and being an overthinker. Overthinking usually it leads to stress and anxiety and worrying. There's a difference between overthinking and being a deep thinker. They're two different things. But we live in a society or world where, people say things like, oh, just live in the moment, or just do this, just do that. Everything is so random without really thinking through your decisions. So there's a difference between the two. And if you are an introvert also who tends to see that applies to, But if you have been told that and you realize that you fall in line with deep thinkers instead of overthinkers, I want you to know that they're two different things. You shouldn't have to feel bad for being a deep thinker because everybody seems to categorize, or most people categorize it as being an overthinker. They're two different things, and I don't want you to feel bad about it because there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, I personally prefer that because that has really helped me make better decisions that in the future I look back and say, you know what, I'm glad I did that because it helped me. I didn't have to live with regrets. Misconception number 5. Introverts don't like to go out in public. That is not true. Yes, a number of introverts do like to keep to themselves or be on their own, but that doesn't mean we don't like to go out in public. I do know of people who do not like being outdoors. That is different. That is totally different. I personally love to travel. I love being outdoors. I love experiencing nature. I like visiting new places, just interacting with different people, learning about different cultures. Again, I love to travel. So that is not true. It is not true. I know from my own experience who I am. It is not true. Yeah. Huh, what other misconceptions are there? 6. Introverts are underachievers. Okay. So I want to clear this up. Achievement or being ambitious is not necessarily related to your personality type. So just because an introvert may not be moving around with so much hype about what they plan to do and everything doesn't mean they are not overachievers or high achievers. That's not true. That's not the case. Yeah, so the two should never have to be tied to one another. They're two different things. So yeah. The 7th one, extroverts are happier than introverts. I like to think of it as, well, based on what I've heard a lot, introverts are depressed people. Guys, first of all, happiness is not something that is tied to a personality type as well. There are some extroverts who are not happy. In the same way, there are some introverts who are not happy. Others are happy. So happiness isn't something that should be tied to a personality type. Not at all. Introverts are not depressed people. I'm an introvert and I'm a very happy person. In my own space, I'm happy. But that has been, most people that I've met have interpreted that as, just being depressed. At least they ask, like, aren't you depressed? Like, isn't that depressing? Aren't you sad? That just goes to show that you're a sad person. No, I'm very happy when I'm watching my movies in my room and relaxing. That gives me so much joy. I don't know. I can understand that maybe for somebody who is extroverted, it's a bit difficult to understand because we just interact differently, or we do things differently in terms of how we recharge and how we socialize with people. It's different. However, it should not be interpreted or connected to depression, at least for how introverts do things. Depression is a different condition. It's very different. You can tell between how a regular introvert interacts or their behavior. You can tell the difference between that and depression. They're two different things. The first roommate that I had, actually, she thought I was depressed because, like I said, like I would my schedule would be like, for my thing was class, cafeteria, my room. Church on Saturdays, class, cafeteria, my room. Church on Saturday, the same routine. And for the very first weeks, it wasn't easy for me to just go out and socialize. My first priority when I got here was for me to settle first with my schoolwork. I worried about my social life later. Really, I didn't really put much effort when I got here to establishing relations with the people that I was gonna meet here. So I didn't really make much of an effort in that area in the first few weeks, if I could put it that way. My focus was mostly on school, making sure everything was, and I was well settled. So I needed to give myself time, and that was exactly what I did. I gave myself time regarding my social aspect. So I would, go to class, get my food. I would prefer having my meal in my room because that was my alone time then. I hardly got time to do everything I described, especially in part 1 during my freshman year, because I was still adjusting to everything. So that also meant adjusting to how I would spend time by myself. So I'd mostly just my lunch break was when I would spend time by myself and I'd be watching a series or something like that. My roommate interpreted it as me being depressed, and she actually told a friend of mine that she was concerned that I was depressed. But no, I was happy, like I was doing my thing. So there are two different things. Happiness shouldn't be connected to a personality trait. Yeah. So that's all I have for you for the misconceptions. So now I will point out some attributes that I want you guys to remember about being an introvert. I feel like sometimes we are forced or pressured to become something that we are not. Many times, actually. And I felt that way when I got here, at least weeks into it. I felt uncomfortable about being an introvert because I didn't even quite understand what that meant. I didn't understand what qualities or what attributes came with this trait that I was just born with. I didn't understand that, and that made me feel very insecure. My friends at the time, a few of my friends would be telling me, you need to get out of your comfort zone. You need to, go everywhere. Whatever school event was there, I had to attend. I had to be out there, even when I wasn't ready to. You need to allow yourself the time to settle in a new environment, most especially. So yeah, give yourself that time. And yes, use these attributes to your advantage, and again, for the betterment of your community. It is very important. Once you understand the power in these qualities alone, you will go far. Yeah. So first, introverts are generally good listeners. Yeah. Introverts are generally good listeners. Why? We tend to spend a little more time as we are observing the new environment or a situation. You tend to spend more time trying to get to know people. Also, it's a little difficult to assimilate into an environment, especially when it's in a large setting. So when you're having a one-on-one interaction with somebody, you will tend to want to listen more because it sort of creates a more comfortable environment. It's easier for you to adjust, if I could put it that way. So yeah, introverts generally are good listeners. Introverts tend to be, at least most introverts tend to be self-sufficient. I think this is because we're so used, or at least we tend to spend a lot of time on our own. So at some point you develop this level of independence. For one, you don't thrive on other people as your source of energy. So that already starts to create this independence in you where you gain energy from just being on your own. So it's easier for an introvert to develop independence or be more self-sufficient. So that's something that you see in a lot of introverts. Introverts tend to be observant, so they pick up easily on non-verbal cues that help them avoid potential misunderstandings. That is very true. For me, I have developed and still developing the skill of being observant to details or just people's moods, especially. That's something that I've learned. I think it's a skill that you can develop, especially when you're in an environment where you are with moody people. So it becomes a little easier to pick up on moods. For one, at least for me, it's a little easier to pick up on moods. And that really helps me because sometimes a person can be in a really bad mood. And if you keep insisting on interacting with that person, you may end up being the one getting hurt, even when it isn't their intention, because you weren't observant enough. So at least that's a skill that many introverts have. So yeah. Introverts are easy to please. So yeah, that means they don't need much to feel happy or content. Now, that doesn't mean that, you treat us with cheap what. No, that's not what it means. It's just easy to please. I'll give an example of myself. I would honestly I pick being home and watching a movie in my bed on my laptop with food on the side. Like, I prefer that to going to the mall and going to the cinema, and it's just not my thing. I prefer being home in my comfort space with lights. Oof, makes me happy. Or I would prefer being other people I know prefer like preparing a bubble bath with a book on the side. Yeah, that sort of thing. That's what it means. Easier to please. Making use of the things around you to just make you happy instead of like going all out. So it's somewhat economical. So yeah, that's something most introverts tend to appreciate a little more. Yeah. Most introverts are good at studying, so have even a longer attention span. Most introverts are trustworthy people. They are driven and disciplined or committed to their goals. I think that also comes with being more in touch with yourself. And that is also because many introverts tend to spend a lot of time on their own. So you get to know yourself a little more. What makes you happy? What doesn't make you happy? And if you're somebody who journals like me, it's a lot easier to be in touch with yourself. So it even makes getting to know you easily. Makes getting to know yourself easier. Hey, English. Yeah. It makes it easier to become more disciplined about your goals and determined also about them. Because you're spending more time with yourself, you're building on those things, you're developing yourself as a person. So yeah, that's another trait you see in many introverts. Last but not least, many introverts prefer thought-provoking conversation. So I'll give you an example of myself. Say in a large setting, I will most likely be quiet for the first few minutes, especially. I will be quiet, trying to analyze the situation, or at least understand the people, the different characters there, and hopefully looking for somebody I could interact with. And the best way to have a conversation with me in that kind of scenario is to start something that is thought-provoking. Especially when it's something I'm interested in, I will engage with you. I will definitely engage with you. And that's something that you see most introverts. They could be quiet in their own corner, but if you bring in some thought-provoking question or a topic, they will engage with you and you have a really good interaction based on that and a deep conversation. And that's what we like. So yeah, that is something I will say. I think I have pretty much mentioned all of them. So yeah, these are all qualities that you can honestly use to your advantage. Make use of these qualities, develop these skills. There is so much more to being an introvert than what society will tell you, and it's so important that you read more about it because you're also getting to know yourself, and that is very important. One thing that I have learned, even as I have gotten to discover these things about myself and my personality trait, is to be content. It is something that is so important. It's very easy to envy what other people have, but it is so important to be content in yourself with what you have, because there is so much to work with as an introvert. There's so many skills that you have that you could use to your advantage. There's power in that. So I will encourage you, get to know and understand yourself. these are beautiful things, these are beautiful attributes, and be confident in that. When you are content with what you have, truly content with it, you will be confident in yourself. So yeah, I hope you like this video. Thanks for watching. And I wish you guys all the best. For those who are just getting into college, I wish you guys all the very best. Yeah, team introverts. Yeah. Okay, that was corny. But yeah, anyway. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and please share. You never know who is in need of this type of encouragement. So yeah, please do so. See you next time. Bye.